Whoa, that was intense. Hi, I'm Danny Quinn, and welcome to the latest episode of First Impressions. On today's episode, I review Christopher Nolan's latest The wartime thriller, Dunkirk. This movie is set during the Dunkirk evacuation, where many Allied soldiers are waiting to be evacuated, and the story is told from three different perspectives. On the land, a young British Army private, played by Fionn Whitehead, desperately tries to survive until he is rescued. At sea, Mark Rylance's Mr. Dawson sails along with several other boats in order to help in the evacuation. And in the air, Tom Hardy's Farrier is one of several Spitfire pilots providing air support for the soldiers on the ground. All in all, compared to some of Nolan's past movies, it's pretty simple plot-wise. It's not very complicated or intricate, or depending on who you're talking to, convoluted. It is overall pretty simple, aside from Nolan's typical use of non-linear narratives. Christopher Nolan has definitely made a name for himself. Not only did he manage to make Batman great again after some slight missteps, but he's also left a significant impact on modern day blockbusters in the same vein as Steven Spielberg, or James Cameron, or Peter Jackson, or even Michael Bay to a lesser extent. So I think it's fair to say that I am a pretty big fan of Christopher Nolan. I really like the Dark Knight trilogy, and Inception is probably my favourite film of his. So when I heard he was going to be doing a big war film, I was obviously quite excited. I like war movies, especially ones that do tend to focus on the horrors of war, and this is definitely a movie about the horrors of war. Not in the same way that Saving Private Ryan was. There's no blood or gore flying across the camera, and there's no severed limbs or anything like that, obviously because this is a PG-13, 12A film. But that doesn't mean that the movie shies away from the horrors of war. Far from it. If anything, it explores it in a much more different way. It's much more focused on the underlying terror that the soldiers face during this evacuation. The uncertainty, the fear, the possibility that they will be killed off in any given moment, and the desperate measures that they will resort to in order to survive. There isn't really much in the way of heroics or bravery from these soldiers. And this movie does a fantastic job highlighting just how vulnerable and helpless these soldiers really are. There's scarcely a moment where they feel safe or secure. They're always in jeopardy. On the beaches, they're stranded with the enemy surrounding them at every turn and awaiting to be rescued, all while planes fly overhead that could shoot them at any moment. And even if they do manage to get off the beaches, there's still the chance of the boat being sunk by a torpedo, either drowning while trying to get out, or successfully getting out and having to swim all the way back to the beach and start playing the waiting game all over again. So the scenes set on land are absolutely fantastic. Very white knuckle, very tense, full of suspense. And Nolan's direction throughout these scenes is incredible. He manages to mine as much tension and horror out of the scenarios as he possibly can, and the camera work and editing does a really good job of that too. And I also really like his use of visual storytelling. For instance, in the film's opening sequence, we see a soldier wandering through a desolate town, and we see him trying desperately to survive, all while trying to get water and having a brief smoke, when suddenly bullets start firing and he's on the run. It's a nail-biting sequence that throws you right into the action, sets the tone for the movie very well, and almost entirely without dialogue. Likewise, the dogfights are absolutely incredible. They're very well filmed with some stunning cinematography and camera work, but they're just as intense and unnerving as any of the scenes on the beach, with Hans Zimmer's score really keeping you on the edge of your seats. And there's still a lot of tension in these sequences as well. You never get the feeling that these soldiers could shoot anybody very easily. It's a challenge to them. And there's just as much of a chance of them missing the enemy as the enemy missing them. And that sense of vulnerability really adds to the tension in these sequences. The storyline set at sea, on the other hand, I would say is a lot more different. It's a little more slower, it's more character driven, and it deals with the horrors of war in a much more psychological way, as represented through Cillian Murphy's character, the soldier that they pick up, who's suffering from shell shock. Indeed, the storyline is a little more conventional and character driven, with Mark Rylance as this mariner who's helping out in the rescue. And it is kind of fitting in the sense that whereas the soldiers don't really perform any real acts of bravery throughout the film, the civilians do risk their lives to try and rescue them. So in a sense, they're more the heroes of the movie and of the event than the soldiers. And although this movie is on a very big scale, it's not a small film at all. It's very big and grand. I wouldn't exactly call it an epic film in the same way that Titanic or Gangs of New York or The Revenant is. This movie is much more in common with, say, films like Gravity or Speed or Captain Phillips. It's much more of a thriller that just happens to be set in the war than an outright war epic. Curiously, Nolan did mention Speed as one of his main influences when making this film, and I definitely believe that because they both have a similar pace and feel to them, and with Nolan's heavy emphasis on visual storytelling, I cannot but believe he took a few cues from George Miller when he made Mad Max Fury Road. And because of this approach, this movie does feel a lot tighter than some of Nolan's past few movies. It's a whole hour shorter than his past two movies for one thing. Indeed, some movies I think can work with a 3 hour or more running time, but this movie sure isn't one of them. I think it definitely benefits from the much shorter running time compared to some of Nolan's previous outings. It's fast paced, never lets up, and never outstays its welcome. It's not a film about the war, it's about this one event and the desperation of many people in order to survive. It never gets bogged down in its political or philosophical elements. It's a very focused movie. It's simple in terms of its narrative and themes, but it's effective and somewhat refreshing. That's not to say that Dunkirk is light on themes overall. I think the overall theme of this movie for me personally is survival. It's an examination of how desperate people can get when they're trying to survive a deadly and terrifying situation like the one they're placed in, how it affects them physically and psychologically. The soldiers are all supposed to be friends and comrades, but any pretense of that pretty much goes right out the window once this attack starts happening. It's every man for himself. So when Fionn Whitehead's Tommy starts helping out the soldier that he doesn't even know, and they start working together in order to try and stay alive, it's all the more heartwarming in a situation where everyone is paranoid and distrustful of each other. As is the case for a Nolan film, it's fantastically acted with a great ensemble cast. Mark Rylance is great in his role, even if he does kind of fade into the background. He isn't really as much of a main character as you would think. Cillian Murphy is absolutely fantastic as the traumatised soldier that Rylance and his crew pick up. And there's some really great tension in these scenes as he tries to wrestle away control of the boat so they're not going back to Dunkirk, because understandably he doesn't want to go there. Tom Hardy's really good as Farrier, even if his face is mostly covered up. And Kenneth Branagh does a great job too. And the younger actors, who are honestly more important to the film than the veteran actors, were all fantastic too. Fionn Whitehead, newcomer, made a very strong impression as Tommy, who's arguably the lead character in this film. It's a role that he manages to hold together despite his sparse dialogue, and I do hope to see more of Whitehead in the future. The rest of the younger actors are also really good too. Aurelia Barnard is great as the mysterious soldier that Tommy strikes up a friendship with and helps out throughout the movie. Tom Glencarny and Barry Keoghan are great as the crew that help out on Rylance's boats. And Harry Styles is surprisingly brilliant as Alex, this soldier that reluctantly tags alongside Tommy. And there's a lot more to the character than you would think. You'd think he was just cast in the role because of Harry Styles' popularity, but Styles does a great job in the part, I think. As for problems, I can't think of too many. I guess one could argue that the non-linear structure of the movie is a little unnecessary. It personally didn't bother me that much, and I did get used to it very quickly, but I could definitely understand why some people don't like it that much. It is a style that is par for the course when it comes to Nolan, as indicated by his past work, but some people might find it a bit unnecessary and sloppy, which I could definitely understand. Also, because the movie focuses so much on the narrative and the events, the movie's characters do take something of a backseat. It's pretty much the opposite of what happened with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and I could certainly understand some people found it a bit hard to care about the characters, and with this movie being an ensemble piece, there are definitely certain characters that I latched onto and cared about, more so than others. But that's really about it in terms of problems, I think. Bottom line, Dunkirk is another fantastic entry in Christopher Nolan's filmography. It's extremely suspenseful and had me on the edge of my seat for the entirety of the running time. Nolan's directing is taut, gripping and meticulous. The performances are excellent, even if the characters do mostly play second fiddle to the narrative. I will admit I do think some of the reviews calling this Nolan's best movie are a little bit exaggerated. This movie isn't quite a masterpiece, but it's a great film that you should definitely check out in cinemas. I'm gonna give Dunkirk a very strong 8 out of 10. I definitely recommend seeing Dunkirk, especially in cinemas. If you're into war movies or thrillers, or you just want to see Harry Styles on the big screen, go see it. It's definitely worth it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be back soon with reviews for Atomic Blonde, 47 Meters Down and Valerian, along with my monthly contribution to the Super Inc. Movie Club in the form of A Clockwork Orange. I really can't wait to present that to you. But in the meantime, feel free to like the video, leave a comment and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'm Danny Quinn, and I hope you have a pleasant night.